thing.
Shouty Show time. Let's get it going.
I've thought about it very deeply.
I liked how he started it with, I've thought about this long and hard.
I trust the backup quarterback more than I do Dak.
This is why Skip Bayless is the master of the Shouty Show segments.
I can't do it anymore. It is year 6.
It's just a never-ending arms race of idiocy between loud, obnoxious people. We are the antidote to that.
I might repeat arms race of idiocy every single week.
It's a good one.
That's so good.
I like it.
That's great. I love that. You're a master. Wordsman.
Wordsmith, yeah.
Wordsmith. All right, we're going to start with a hot take on Monday Night Football. This will be good.
We got a lot of time to talk about this. Put your feet up. We got 2 quarterbacks to analyze because that's the story of last night. And Graziano, what was your first thought this morning?
I thought that even though he was hurt and didn't play last year, the year that J.J. McCarthy spent in Minnesota last year was more beneficial to his development than the year Caleb Williams spent in Chicago last year was to his. And just
all right. It's a one-game takes.
Yeah.
You got to have the one game takes.
Dan Graziano coming in with the hot take. He's usually like the quiet reserve voice of reason on that show.
I mean, it's not a
relative to the other people.
It's not a wild take. I mean, just drop this in week 10 or something, you know?
Yeah.
After a little bit more evidence.
Sure. It's also not like, I mean, you could say that without any evidence whatsoever. It's like you don't even need the evidence for that take. You could just say, I mean, even independent of, it's one of those takes that's actually independent from the results. Like, it might have been more beneficial, and yet he might still stink as a quarterback or never work out or be amazing. Like, you know what I mean? It could still have been more beneficial. All you need to, in order for that to be true, the only thing that also needs to be true is that, like, Caleb Williams' rookie season was basically a net negative, which I think is not an unreasonable thing to argue at this point. So whether or not J.J. McCarthy ends up being great, whether or not Caleb Williams ends up being great or terrible or whatever, anywhere in between, that take can still remain true.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's necessarily true. Caleb Williams playing in a system that wasn't great. I mean, it was a lot of reps of NFL football that could have done him well. All I know is, if we haven't learned anything in life in general, but particularly over the last couple weeks, where we just saw people making declarative statements about UNC's offense.
Yes.
2 Monday nights ago.
After a drive.
Right? After one drive. Bill Belichick has created an historic, championship caliber offense. And then on Sunday night, the Ravens have built a juggernaut. They're unstoppable. The Ravens this and the Ravens that, and they lost.
Till the final few minutes.
Right? And then on Monday night, I mean, look, you can put your opinions out. You can do whatever you want. It's just sports. It's just fun. But you had a lot of, J.J. McCarthy, and this is the risk when you move on from a guy that's established, a guy you get the unknown mystery box. And J.J. McCarthy, he looked awful at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then people are going the other way with, see, Kevin O'Connell got it right. He got it right. They made the perfect decision to let Sam Darnold walk and go with their rookie quarterback. Or second-year quarterback. You don't have to have a massive, strong opinion about J.J. McCarthy yet.
I don't like this as a Shouty Show take because I feel like it's too like, well, you can't quite it's like a technicality. You can't quite prove it or disprove it either way. It's just, fuzzy enough that it can be true or otherwise, regardless of what happens. It almost feels like you're just trying to present something that could be right, but sounds a little bit edgy. It's not true. Shouty Show fodder is like, come up with something ridiculous. Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's right or not. And then just argue it to death.
So this isn't, it's not an extreme take.
No.
But you've chosen to evaluate the Shouty Showness of this. I've chosen to jump back up on the soapbox and say, let's not make declarative statements over 10 passes.
Well, this was sufficiently non-declarative that it doesn't even count.
All right, just doesn't count.
Like it's almost a rational thought piece. Well, maybe this. That's not Shouty Show fodder. What are we doing here?
Maybe this next one is we have an overreaction to the Packers coming up here. Hey guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and now let's get back to the action.
Micah Parsons actually only played about 45% of the snaps. But between Jordan Love's poise, Josh Jacobs, what is that, 9th straight game he scored a touchdown? Franchise record. The coaching, Green Bay looked different, folks. It is official. Let me overreact. Green Bay is winning that division. I don't need to watch Vikings-Bears tonight, and I do not need to see the Lions again.
Yeah.
Adding Micah, played less than half the snaps, is different. Between Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love and that run game and Rashawn Gary and Micah, this is the best-looking Packer team I have seen since Aaron Rodgers in his prime.
See, that's good, right?
That's good. That's a good Monday afternoon. I don't even need to see tonight's game.
Because it's self-aware as well. It's like, I'm gonna go out and say something ridiculous. I'm gonna kind of tell you it's ridiculous, and I don't care. That's the key. That's the key to Shouty showing us. It's that you don't care that you could and maybe will be wrong quite soon. It's just like, I've seen all I need to see. X is true, regardless of what comes in later.
And you and I said, of all the, if we were going to overreact to something, that felt like the one, man, the Packers look good.
Yeah.
By the way.
I mean, I think you might be right. It's still crazy to come out and be like, I've seen all I need to see. The I don't need to see the Lions ever again. The Bears-Vikings is irrelevant. Green Bay will win this division.
I'm going to say this on the show 100 times tomorrow. My favorite thing to say between week 1 and 2. You know, there's an old in college football, they use this old axiom, you make your biggest improvement between week 1 and 2, which is another awful statement, which is unprovable. And it's like, so every team's just getting better. And it's just a stupid thing to say. But the thing I always say every year is not stupid. Part of the reason why the week 1 overreaction is dumb is because, like, if the Lions were playing in the Dome against the Packers in week 1, everything's probably a little bit different, right? There's different home road advantages. Part of the reason why I don't want, like, if Miami got wrecked at home, I think I'd be way more concerned than them going up against a really emotional Colts team with their home game, and now Miami goes home. Like, so that's the thing. Like, do I want to say the Packers look great? And yeah, like, I feel much better about them competing for the division title than I did 1 week ago. Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that they're gonna wreck the Lions when they get to the Dome, when they're in Detroit either, or for the rest of the season. So yeah, I think the Packers look good. But it's that's good Shouty showness, right? Just evaluating what Colin did. Is just I'm making a declarative statement here after 60 minutes of football.
Mike McDaniel said something at his press conference that it mirrors what we sort of said before in terms of how these seasons play out. He basically said, look, the first 4 weeks, everybody's trying to figure out who they are, right? You go into a season, you think you know something, you think you know what you are, who you are, and then it plays out differently. And obviously for Miami, it played out catastrophically relative to what they thought they were. But this is the thing. The first 4 weeks of the season, everyone's trying to work out who exactly they are. The next 4 weeks of the season is a different life cycle. The last few weeks of the season is a different life cycle. So right now, Green Bay may be further ahead than people thought they were, or maybe a better team or different. But that doesn't mean that, like, come December, things haven't changed and other teams have, jumped further ahead and blah, blah, blah. Like, again, there are many reasons why that's an utterly ridiculous statement.
And off the top of my head,
he knows them.
There are 2 Dolphins teams that really come to mind, right? The 2019 Brian Flores Dolphins looked like one of the worst constructed teams of all time, and then they, got caught for tampering. I mean, for tanking and tampering, actually.
Yeah. Did a lot of nasty.
They lost. They lost like 80-7 over their first 2 games, something ridiculous, right? They looked like they were ready to be the worst team in history, and then Brian Flores actually got them more competitive by week 6, 7, 8, whatever it was. And then, of course, just 2 years ago, the Broncos were on that pace. They give up 70 to the Dolphins. The Dolphins, remember when Mike McDaniel said, hey, mission accomplished. We had the most. They said, hey, you had the most yards through 5 weeks in NFL history. It's like, yeah, great. So the Dolphins looked ready to take on the league. The Broncos looked like the worst defense. That was the worst defensive performance I've seen as an NFL analyst.
It was an NFL record.
Week 3
they gave up
2023.
70 points.
Yes. That was the worst I've ever seen. And Pat Surtain was on the field. Like, it wasn't like the talent wasn't there. But by week 7 or 8, that defense was all of a sudden competitive, and they carried that momentum into last year and into this year where they're good. So, yeah, that's...
And, of course, again,
that's
remember,
part of the ebbs and flows of the season.
Last year's Saints looked like the best team in the NFL, certainly through week 1, probably through week 2, and then turned out they were pretty bad.
That was I even apologized for that. I apologized for not being familiar with their game.
Yeah.
But Taysom Hill got hurt, so that ruined everything.
True.
All right, we have a former MVP talking about the Ravens.
Because everybody saw the brilliance and the playmaking ability from the Baltimore Ravens. But the only team that can beat the Baltimore Ravens is the Baltimore Ravens, and when they don't come up to show, and I mean all facets, I mean field goal kicker, I'm talking about special teams, I'm talking about defense, I'm talking about offense, you're going to see those type of blunders happen more times than not. And I'm telling you, if we don't see, and to Damian's point, if the Baltimore Ravens do not have a deep playoff push, and that's the only thing that we're judging them off of this year, a deep playoff push, it's going to be world to pay.
I don't know what that final statement necessarily means. Does that mean heads are going to roll, people getting fired?
Yeah,
I mean, the Ravens and Bills are both in this position where if you don't surpass the Chiefs and at least make it to the Super Bowl, like you're going to question yourself every year because of how good your team is potentially.
Exactly, and they're both in a difficult position, I think, because I think institutionally they recognize that they're well-run teams, they're well-run organizations, top to bottom. Coaching is good. General manager is good. Personnel is good. Like all this stuff is good. So if you don't progress in the playoffs year on year, what do you change? Like, do you go, we got to change something significant because we keep running up against this brick wall, knowing that doing so is definitely removing a good part of your organization, right? This is the issue. Like, normally you just go, yeah, this is obviously a problem. Let's get rid of this guy and we get better. But you know that these guys are good. Like, John Harbaugh is a good NFL coach. Does he maybe have some trouble late in games? Maybe. Like, is that a weakness of his? Potentially. But you know he's a good coach, right? So you're potentially running a significant risk of getting dramatically worse by changing something fundamental at the end of every year. But I think he's right in terms of, like, if Baltimore looks really good all the way through the regular season again and then chokes in the playoffs, like, it's very, very bad for them.
A lot of these hot takes and, how did the Ravens do this again? How does Kyle Shanahan blow all these Super Bowls? A lot of that is you have to be good enough to be in that position, right? The Ravens have to be good enough to be up 10 in the fourth quarter, which they are as much as if not more than every team in the league.
It is more. Ben Solak, friend of the show, had a stat in his article. I don't remember what the number was, but it was like they have half a dozen more of those situations than any other team in the last few years or whatever.
So when you have the most, you'll probably blow the most leads as well. However, they still do, like, even from a percentage standpoint, it's still pretty high.
Yep.
And as you and I were talking during the internet outage, they're the best running team of our generation. They are most equipped to handle a lead.
Yeah.
And ironically, they haven't had one of these meltdowns in the playoffs. But
they just haven't been good in the playoffs.
The pain will come. Honestly, as Cam says, the pain will come. That would be the thing. If you're talking something's going to happen at the end of the year, like if they have a 10-point lead against Kansas City with 5 minutes left, or against Buffalo, if the same thing happens with Buffalo in an AFC Championship or a divisional round, that's where I think you could actually see some changes. But you have to be up. Like Kyle Shanahan, can't win the big one. The dude's in the big one. Like he's in NFC Championships. He's in Super Bowls often enough because he's that great.
Yeah.
Then you're a few plays away. If the Ravens are that good that they're up a lot, but they still blow more leads than they should, especially with how that team is constructed.
Yeah, they remain basically as good a regular season team as anybody over the last few number of years. They have had more of those double-digit leads than anybody else over that period of time, but they have also blown a bigger percentage of those than the league average is, and they should be better at that than other teams because Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson theoretically is basically an unstoppable rushing combination in, the 4-minute drill situations. And yet that's exactly where things seem to be unspooling. I also wanted to mention, I sent you this meme slash message during the weekend that somebody said the funniest thing Shane Gillis has ever said is that Cam Newton dresses like a cartoon cat. And I think that's 100% accurate. He basically dresses like Top Cat. It's pretty funny.
Oh, man. I mean, at some point, Cam might want to join the show.
I feel like that's something that could be put to him.
Do you get your wardrobe from 40s cartoons?
Do you agree with Shane Gillis that your particular fashion style resembles a cartoon cat? Is that the look you're going for?
If it is,
I mean, success. The only thing that needs to change for that right there to be Top Cat is that he's cut a hole in his hat so that his dreadlocks poke out.
Yeah.
Top Cat didn't have dreadlocks, but other than that, it's right on.
He knows what he's doing. We have a Justin Herbert comparison coming. Is this from the boss?
Let's see.
Been on the record for years that he is 90% of the talent of Mahomes.
That's right.
and you think Mahomes is the most talented player ever. So Justin Herbert is 90% of the way to being the most talented player of all time.
Well, would you agree that Peyton Manning's about 90%?
I don't think it's Peyton Manning.
He's on pace.
And so what does this mean for this year?
It means that he is going to continue on the Peyton Manning trajectory, which in year 6
was an MVP.
Was an MVP in an AFC Championship game appearance. And last graphic, please.
Oh, more graphics. Wow.
One more. He's ahead of schedule. Week 1 of his 6th season, where Peyton Manning won 12 games and was the MVP. He started with 0 touchdowns, 2 picks.
In case he was bad.
Right.
So that way he was bad. He could be like, bro, he could be like right there.
3 touchdowns and a win over Mahomes.
Brilliant.
Wow, that's even stronger.
Nick Wright and Danny Parkins combining, who used to be, like, that was the combination on 610, the Kansas City radio station. Like, that was just a sports afternoon. That was the show. Nick Parkins and Danny Parkins and Nick Wright.
So Danny's a Kansas City guy. Is he?
They both came. I don't know where they.
I mean, they both came through Kansas City radio.
Right. They were that show.
So Danny, his first time. Welcome to Shouty Shows, by the way.
Yeah.
So Danny is probably going to play the Justin Herbert foil to Nick Wright.
I don't think that's like an everyday combination. I think Danny was just pinching in for somebody.
Oh no, I thought they were together now after all
Maybe
the
they
shakeups.
are they?
I think they
I don't
are.
know.
I think they've been reunited on the big show here.
So who lost? Did they get rid of, what's his name? Rose? Jalen Rose? Jody Rose?
I don't know. I don't watch.
Okay.
I don't know who was on the show. I don't even know who was on the show to get canned. I find out they're on the show when they show up on our show with ridiculous takes.
Okay. Yeah.
Not Nick, though. He's great. So yeah, I want to sunset all trajectory comparisons.
Okay.
I want to get rid of all of them. There's just too many variables. Whether you're saying, well, let's look at Herbert and Peyton through 6 years. Let's look at Mahomes versus Brady through X number of years. Because the assumption is that the next 10 are going to be the same. Because the first 5 are the same or better or worse, the next 10 will be the same.
But also, through what lens are we looking at that? Like, you can't do it through stats because Peyton Manning's era, like, we know we can't compare stats across eras. So are you doing it by, like, team performance, wins? Like, because that's equally as improbable because that just relies on what does the team look like.
By the way, people misremember Peyton Manning. The thing that you say this a lot too, like, and I say it a lot. Peyton Manning had 26 interceptions his first year. He was good his first year.
NFL record.
Yeah, but he was good his first year, right? We're not using that as he had 26 interceptions. Peyton was awful as a rookie, and then he figured it out. Like, he was actually good. Like, when you go back and watch the games, you were watching and saying, Colts nailed it. Like, they got the right guy. They should not have picked Ryan Leaf, even though Leaf started like 2-0. They got the right guy. Peyton Manning had them. They lost a lot of games, but he had them competitive, and there was like a couple mistakes here and there. Absolutely, he was a rookie. By 99, he was good. By 2000, he was on his way to being great, and then by 03, he was winning Super Bowls. winning MVPs, what have you. It wasn't like, man, he had 26 picks, because back then, if you were awful, you'd have 26 picks and like 4 touchdowns.
28
picks.
Yeah,
it's bad. I mean, it's some bad plays in there.
I think
good overall as for a rookie at that time being thrown into the mix. That was not a bad season.
No, well, I think the way I always characterize that is I wouldn't go as far as say he was good, but what I would say is nobody came out of that season and was like, oh, the Colts are in trouble. Like, Peyton Manning's not the guy. He just set the interception record. It's all bad. Like, people came out of that season where he set the interception record and led the league, I think, in interceptions, and everybody was convinced he was going to be a star. So I'm not sure I would go as far as say he was good overall that year, but I would say everyone came out of it and was like, he's the guy. Like, he'll figure it out.
He was good the same way. There are some analysts out there saying Cam Ward, like, wow, on Sunday on a 12 of 28 for 112-yard, 4 yards per attempt performance where he got sacked 6 times. And I'm not saying that was wrong. I'm saying there was a lot of promising things about Cam Ward given all of the circumstances.
But that's the difference, right? It's promising versus good. Like, you wouldn't come out of that game where, like, Cam Ward was great. You'd be like, there's a lot of reasons for
I would say promising. I wouldn't say good. I would say promising. Because if you're saying,
the difference.
Yeah,
I would say Peyton Manning, you came out of that season, and it was an incredibly promising
I'd have to go throw
season.
By throw on Peyton to officially say
an incredibly promising rookie season despite leading the league in interceptions.
Now, this take on Herbert, I'm torn on Herbert. I think like a lot of people are. I think a lot of extreme takes on Herbert, right? The extreme takes usually go, he's more talented than the top guys. He's more talented than Joe Burrow, therefore he's better, right? Because in talent usually means, does he throw the ball faster, and is he a faster runner? Like, talent is interpreted as, does he throw the ball fast and does he run fast? Usually.
Yeah, it's physically talented is what they talk about.
Which I don't think matters at all. I mean, it doesn't matter when you're comparing NFL performances. So you get that extreme, and the other extreme is like, he's a 500 quarterback. Multiple coaches, multiple coordinators. And I think there's truth in both. I think he's a good quarterback. He's been a productive quarterback. I also think there's maybe been something lacking, and I do think over time QB wins are a good stat. I do think over time they get you in the ballpark. And if you are consistently underperforming, there's probably something there. I also don't think just because I don't even know what his official record is, but just because he's around a 500 quarterback, it doesn't mean they can't go 14-3 this year, right? I think that's possible too. So I don't know. I would never do this Peyton Manning trajectory thing.
Currently 41-38.
Yeah, it's 500 quarterback.
What I would say is
him and Baker Mayfield, similar career record.
Yeah. So I think part of the problem with a guy like Herbert is he's dealt with a lot of injuries in his career.
Yes.
Now,
which
you can look at that in two different ways. You can say, well,
I blame the QB.
The man's kind of injury prone, right? And that might not go away. Or you can say, look, if he has a stretch where he's not injured for a period of time, the ceiling is clearly high for him, and maybe as high as these other guys. I kind of look at Herbert actually as a good candidate for that. Your Jameis Winston love. You know, the idea that any season now, Jameis Winston's going to have an MVP year where he just puts it all together, stops making boneheaded decisions, and all you get is the high end of his variance, right? Which for Jameis was never going to happen. But for Herbert, I think, is plausible. You could, in any given year, you could have a year where Herbert stays healthy and plays at the high end of his ability, which you think is up there with Burrow and Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson.
I agree, yes.
And if you get that, I mean, it could be this year. It could be 3 years from now. Anytime you could get one of those years from Justin Herbert. Or you could get a year that looks like, previous years where he's banged up and he's nicked up and it's not quite as good and they lose more games than they should and blah, blah, blah. But a guy like Herbert, I think, is able – so you could look at that the way Danny Parkins did and said it's just the Peyton Manning trajectory, right? Year 6 is when he becomes Super Bowl champion and MVP and, the ascends, apotheosis. Or you could just say it just happened to be year 6 where you got the clean year where he didn't get hurt and nothing, and he got it was a career year for him in year 6.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's in the top 4, but he's in the QB5 conversation. And when you're ranking quarterbacks, any given year QB5 could be the best. Any given year QB7 could have the Cam Newton was the best quarterback in the league. I don't think he was top 10 in his generation. Carson Palmer was right up there with him. I don't think he was top 10, really, in his generation. So in any given year, I don't think you need to compare it to Peyton in his trajectory. I got one more. Some thoughts on Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart.
Let Russ cook. Let him cook. If you're the head chef at the restaurant, right, you don't want one of the waiters outside coming in and telling you how to cook. You don't want them coming in and messing up your rhythm as a quarterback. Let the man be quarterback number 1 until you decide to make a change. Hell, you might not have to make a change. Why prep Jackson Dart and getting him ready? What message does that send to Russell Wilson? I don't like what it sends to Russell Wilson. Let the man play until he loses his job.
You keep saying they say let Russ cook, but people keep sending the dish back. So how am I keep letting something?
I will say Shannon Sharp has a very infectious laugh,
Yeah.
This is something, it makes you feel good. Just hearing him.
Likeable.
I like
it. Dusting off a 2019
I'll let Russ Cook take.
Your thoughts?
I mean, it's like let him cook until he loses his job. But if you bench him this week, he's lost his job. What is that? I don't really understand.
I think that's a difference between a player show or a player opinion versus I think what we try to do. We usually look at our analysis through the lens of the organization and what's best for the team. And players tend to lean toward what's better for the player. Like if Ocho was in year 10 and they drafted a wide receiver, he would be saying, I still want to play. I'm still good. I want my reps. But the receiver that they drafted is the future. And everybody knows that. And so we know Jackson Dart's the future. So we always look at it through like, when's Jackson Dart going to play? What's best for him? He's got to get extra reps to get him ready. We thought the Patriots did a great job giving Drake May 30% of the reps last year. I could see veterans being like, well, that's not fair to Jacoby Brissett. Well, yeah, he's not the future of the Patriots. Jacoby Brissett's no longer a Patriot, which is why last year they did this. Like, Russell Wilson probably won't be on the Giants next year.
Sure.
He's not their future. So it really doesn't matter unless you knew you were going to get like 2014 Russell Wilson for some reason, and I don't think there's any evidence that that's the case.
I think it's a reasonable point to make, and I'm not even sure this is the point he was making, that they should not be publicly equivocating on Russell Wilson right now. Like, Brian Daboll not fully backing Russell Wilson 1 week into the season, I think is pretty harsh and pretty unfair to Russell Wilson when he wasn't the only bad thing of that performance against Washington. Like, no Andrew Thomas, their offensive line still stinks. They didn't have a lot of help around him. It's not like Russell Wilson was the anchor dragging down this offense, and if you just put in the rookie, everything would have been great. So to come out of that game, and it's not like he said, look, Russell Wilson is the problem and we're evaluating it, but there's no reason he couldn't have said, Russ is the quarterback, he's our guy, even if you then pulled the rug out from under him and decided he wasn't and went the other direction. I think that's hanging the guy out to dry publicly, which feels pretty harsh, really, particularly in a New York media market. Like, why the need to do that?
In a week where Daniel Jones went somewhere else, had a really efficient game with the Colts. Their offense looked outstanding, and the Giants' offense, as I said on Sunday, looked very similar as far as offensive line issues, didn't run the ball, couldn't get the ball down the field. And this is Russ, who we said, well, at least his one strength is throwing the deep ball and creating some chunk plays. And they didn't have a pass over 25 yards, and he averaged 4.5 yards per attempt. So he's, stat line that looked like a Daniel Jones type of game. And Daniel Jones went off and had a really good game with the Colts. So coming out of that, you would say, okay, Russ just stepped right into this calibrated Giants offense that they have outside of the one game with Drew Lock last year.
Yeah.
They were incredible. So I get it. I just think you're still trying to do whatever's best for Jackson Dart, whatever that might be.
I mean,
probably, as the chat suggests, when Andrew Thomas gets back, that'd be a good time.
I just don't
put him out there.
Like, Russell Wilson hasn't shown enough at the moment to be like, Russ is still the Russ from, the last iteration of let Russ cook. Let's just let him go all the way through the season, and he'll be the best thing we've got. I think it's entirely possible that Jackson Dart will be a better option for them at some point this season, and maybe that's sooner rather than later. But I don't see any reason. Like, number one, I wouldn't do that until you have the one good player in your offensive line back in the lineup. And number two, I don't see any reason why you can't publicly talk up and defend the current starting quarterback until he's no longer the current starting quarterback. Like, week one coming out and being like, well, we'll see if he starts next week is immediately pulling, like, it's immediately undermining him publicly.
Yeah. No, I agree. We didn't serve Russ well. We didn't do well with him.
No.
The dish might be burnt, but we could do better in the kitchen, helping him cook.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video.
Check the Mic is live every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a thing.
And the all-knowing algorithm is convinced you'll also like these videos, and who are we to argue?